Converted man here?
It's the converted man.
Converted man here. Alright, part 2. We've got proof of God in 90 seconds. Here we go.
Sir, to like how God came to be or how he was created or...
Okay, please sit down. We know how you came to be very well. But let me tell you one thing. If everything came to be, then nothing is eternal. Is that right? Huh? Nothing is eternal. When nothing is eternal, how it came to be? You understand? Let's start with this premise. If everything has to come to be one day, everything which exists must begin somewhere, then there is no eternity. Right? So, when there was nothing, how anything came to be?
Okay, so remember the last video when they said that whole thing that this isn't about a particular God, it's about every God and all that? And here we have a clearly Muslim speaker talking about God. Just, you know, if this was about any God, wouldn't you, like, you know, get in other speakers, have, like, multiple speakers or something? And this is nothing more than the Kalam cosmological argument reduxed again, and he's just, like, laughing at these things. Ha ha ha, isn't that funny? Ha ha ha, nothing. Either you have eternity, or there's nothing, and then ha 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 ha, you can't have that because it doesn't make sense to me. Ha 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 ha. And we start with this premise that everything comes from something, and then we get something from nothing, but then we're going to add that we have something that's always been there that didn't come from something else. So not everything has to come from something in this special exception case. But we're going to ignore the special exception part, the special pleading part, the logical fallacy part, and you know, let's just start with the premise of a logical fallacy. No, stop it.
You understand the point? So you can't do away with eternity. There has to be eternity. Otherwise, it's absolutely illogical to believe in anything.
Hey, look, it's an appeal to consequence. It's been a while since I've seen you. Hey, has anyone seen my logical fallacy counters? Where the bleep are they? I haven't seen them in ages. Where did they go? Are they hiding or something? Well, maybe they'll make an appearance in the next video I do.
So if there is eternity, the question is simply this: is it a conscious eternity or a dead eternity? Because we see organization in existence, so the eternity has to be conscious. Because dead eternity cannot lead to life. Only life can lead to life. Alright? Thank you. And it's a good question. Thank you very much for asking this question. Assalamu alaikum.
Yeah. Life comes from life. Learn biology and biological evolution, I guess, would be my response to that nonsense. Chemicals eventually form into complex proteins. Those eventually form into something that we would then call life. But it's not like an on-off switch. It's a gradient change. And so you can't just point to something, oh, see, it wasn't alive, now it is. It wasn't, now it is. It's kind of like, you know, you can't, it's a smooth transition. And I think you would be hard-pressed to point at the point when it stopped being chemicals and started being alive. And that might be a problem with our definition of life. It might be a problem with the way that we conceive things. I don't really know what the underlying problem there is, But I do know that this guy, who didn't prove God or anything in 90 seconds, can't words. Anyways, he didn't do that. He didn't prove anything. Even if he had a logically coherent argument, which he didn't, it wouldn't prove things, because arguments don't prove things, okay? Empirical things are... I wish people would stop using proof in the wrong way. Oh well, whatever. But the thing is, we've got non sequitur, special pleading, special knowledge, and outright lie, because life does indeed come from not life. Although I'm pretty sure scientists that understand aborigines better than I do would put it a far more sophisticated way than that. And if you have videos about that, post them in the comment section below. I'll link them in the description, because we need that. We need real science and not this. And philosophers have been debating about what it is to be alive forever. But this Nimrod just, oh yeah, life can only come from life. What a short-sighted, narrow view of everything. Can only not life produce not life? I mean, it doesn't... It's willful ignorance. It's deliberate ignorance. And for many Muslims and Christians, evolution is the devil. They can't have their God and evolution too. For I don't know why, but they just can't. And it's sad, because you can put God further back, but this whole God is this life that didn't come from life, because it just was always forever. Why? And this other thing of, well, you can't get, if you have nothing, you can't get something. How do you know? You don't know that. You pretend to know that, you assert it, but you have no idea, because we don't have nothing. I can't hold nothingness. There's no example to point to and go, there's nothing. See it not doing anything? And I know it's counterintuitive to think that all sorts of stuff could come from nothing. And William Lane Craig loves to screw with this and go, oh, well, we don't just see horses pop into existence in our living rooms, because he's a moron. And he doesn't have logically coherent arguments, but he's also a moron. At least in regards to that, okay? Because once you have a system, then there isn't nothing anymore. So yeah, no, a horse can't come into existence from nothing, because nothing's gone now. There is no more nothing. There's all sorts of things. Nothing has been obliterated by the presence of stuff. If you have nothing, then you have no rules. And if you have no rules, then anything and everything goes. And there's nothing, literally, to prevent something from happening. Even though that wouldn't work in our physics. Physics doesn't exist. Nothing exists. So, bing! It could just pop into being. Uncaused, for no reason. From absolute nothing. And there's no way to prevent that. Philosophically, logically, period. The only way is to just assert that your theology is the only thing that makes sense, and pretend like everything else doesn't make sense. But that's not an argument that's coherent. Life does come from non-life. The special pleading that God is a life but doesn't come from life is something I just can't get over. I can't let that fallacy go. There's others. non sequitur and outright lie and all that, but that one, just no. Like, your God has to follow the rules that but it doesn't. Then other stuff doesn't have to follow the rules. Quantum soup could have been the thing that always existed. The idea that eternity must exist, maybe that's true, maybe it's not. Maybe it's a matter of natural language problems. You know, there's a difference between infinity and eternity. I'll agree with that. Does eternity have to exist? I don't know. What does that mean? I mean, when we rewind the universe, we get to this point mathematically where everything just breaks down. We can't go past this certain point backwards in time. But if we could, we imagine before that, we just don't have any data to go on, and it really is guesses at this point. It could be educated guesses, but ultimately that's all we would have. Maybe it came into existence uncaused from nothingness. Maybe it's came from quantum void. Maybe we're all in a black hole that's part of another universe that has different rules. Maybe any number of things. And God is one of those maybes among lots of maybes. And ultimately, that's all they are, is possibilities. Unless we have empirical evidence, repeatable tests, and or a logically coherent argument. And unless and until we do, we have to continue to be skeptical of the conclusions. Life came from life. Life came from life. 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 I just... yeah, just... no. Just...